Can everybody see the splash screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect. Well, welcome today. Thanks for taking this time this afternoon. We're going to talk about Soldiers in Tech initiative, brought to you by Roland Gossage Foundation in Lighthouse Labs in participation from the Ontario government. The agenda, well, it seems long. It shouldn't take us long to get through this. We're going to do introductions. We're going to talk about the high-level goals of the initiative, a little bit about the Roland Gossage Foundation as well as Lighthouse Labs. We're going to talk about the program, the training itself, the career services that back the training, things that we think about that obviously outside the normal spectrum, which is around wellness and where soldiers may come at a different place than sort of the average student. And then we'll get into what eligibility is and then how to apply in questions and answers. So to that, I'm going to jump right into it. On the call today is myself, Roland Gossage, Jennifer Gross, and Alex from Lighthouse Labs. So hello, everyone. So the high-level goals of this program is really to help veterans and their families. We want to bring awareness that there are other things outside of putting rounds downrange and what we might have done in our non-civilian life that we can take advantage of in the market in a high demand area, which is really around technology. And what we want to do is we want to assist the private sector in tapping into this, what I would say is untapped resource, which is the veterans of this country, to really help their goals and help them achieve what they want to from a talent, financial, and technology perspective. The other thing too is a lot of veterans obviously don't think necessarily about technology. We know that most veterans, when they come out of it, kind of get shoehorned into very specific things. You know, one of the very obvious stuff is things like, I'm going to do security now, or something that's very obvious. So we want to open the idea up that there are other paths to the workforce that you might not have thought about before, that now you can really take advantage of and apply those skills that we learned as a soldier to this ever-growing workforce that exists in technology. And ultimately, we're all Ontarians in this call, and we would love to see, obviously, our province prosperous. And we know that with COVID, there's a lot of economic sort of havoc happening in that workforce and in just general employment that we think this is going to allow Ontarians to prosper even better. In Ontario, we're actually known as Silicon Valley North. It is an ever-growing sort of population in the worldwide technology stage, and we want to introduce that concept to veterans today. So I joined the foundation, and Scott, I know you're on the line, and we served together for the same regiment. I had an amazing 10-year run with the Governor General Horse Guards. I did A and B class service, and really came out there with a wealth of learning and discipline and thought processes that came out of there. And really what we want to do is help those that we know in our sort of cohort really understand that there is life after the military. Whether you had a very short service, a long service, it really doesn't matter. We want to help any veteran, no matter what they look like, what they came from, or what their service looked like, really to achieve greater things after service. And we kind of owe it back to our servicemen and women to give them opportunities going forward. And that's why I founded the foundation, over a year ago, and really trying to ignite people's interest and value in what servicemen and women can do for this country going forward. And that's how I formed the foundation. I'm going to turn it over to Alex to talk a little bit about Lighthouse Labs. Just to give you a little prelude, is that we came across Lighthouse Lab in my technology company that I have called Group Buy. It's about 100 plus person organization dealing in e-commerce. And we've actually hired out of the Lighthouse Labs program. And so we know their program works. It produces amazing individuals. And so it was an easy partnership when we were looking to, do this initiative in Soldiers in Tech, to leverage their abilities and skill sets to create high valued individuals. So to that, I will turn it over to you, Alex.
Thank you. I feel like I don't need to say anything now past that. My name is Alex. I'm a project manager with Lighthouse Labs. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about like the technical side of the training. So before I do that, I'll tell you a little bit about Lighthouse. So Lighthouse is a technical education institution, and we focus on two things: data science and web development. For a little bit of history, we were actually founded in 2013 by a group of developers who were looking at this vast technical talent gap in Canada and thought that there had to be a better way to quickly train people to become developers and not have to go through a very lengthy and expensive 4-year computer science degree. So since then, we've graduated over 2,000 developers into the Canadian market, which is an accomplishment we're quite proud of. Next slide, please. Okay, so the goal of our program is to transform you into a professional developer. You're going to come to understand coding logic using popular languages and frameworks like JavaScript and Ruby on Rails, while also learning how to think like a programmer by building software from the ground up. So there's 4 main components to this program that will launch you into your first junior developer role. So the first is obviously the technical training. It is training in both front end and back end. So you will be qualified as a junior full stack developer upon graduation. There's also final projects. So at the very end of your 12-week program, you're going to be presenting your final projects publicly. There's often employers that are there, and we actually have a separate like employer-only demo day that where you're able to show them what you were able to build at the end of the program. In addition to that, there's career services. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit later and not jump into it too much now, and wellness support. Okay, so I set out this timeline because the 12-week program is a little bit confusing to sort of describe. The first thing I want to say is that the program is starting on August 17th. That will be the first intake. Week 1 and week 2 of the program are fundamentals. So we're looking to have everybody sort of get on the same page in that time. And before even week 1 and week 2 start, there is a prep course. So there is 40 to 60 hours of prep that we're going to ask you to do before you even start the program. That's to make sure that everybody's on the same page when they start. You're used to this new desktop environment, and yeah, just gets everybody ready to go and excited for day 1. So after week 1 and week 2, week 3 and week 5 are really when we get into things. So we get into backend, so servers, cookies, HTTP. We go do front end, so HTML, CSS, SAS, AJAX, responsive design, and databases, so SQL, Postgres. Week 6 is your midterm, so it's your first opportunity to actually work in groups and build something from the ground up. I think you actually build like a restaurant app or a takeout app, so it's very, very useful during these COVID era. Week 7 and 8 is back, so React. Those are known as pretty intense weeks because React is notoriously a little bit difficult to wrangle. Week 9 and 10 is Ruby on Rails, and finally week 11 and 12 is those final projects that I was talking about that you'll be presenting at demo day. Okay, so what will you be able to create? So our curriculum was created to simulate a real developer's job environment. So you're going to be exposed to industry relevant technologies and then immediately reinforce that knowledge by building applications and completing daily programming projects. So we're going to be starting pair programming pretty much from week 1 in order to expose you to looking at other people's code, which is hugely important, a hugely important skill as a developer. There's also problem solving and debugging, probably the most important skill to acquire and practice as a developer. Our goal is to get you as job ready as quickly as humanly possible. So most of the learning you're going to do is the year after boot camp on the job. But for now, we want to make sure that you have the portfolio to show for it. So there's all these weekly individual projects. One of them is called Tweeter. It's a Twitter clone, very clever. And then, so that is all going to be on GitHub so that when you are looking for a job, you're ready to go. So there's kind of 5 main things I want to really reiterate about this technical training. So 1, it's extremely hands-on. There's only 2 hours of lecture a day. The rest is hands-on keyboard, coding away, doing your thing. It's pretty much the opposite of a very theoretical degree. It's super, super practical stuff. Second, it's project-based, so you're going to be developing mini apps, just like what I was talking about, and working on industry projects. There's mentor help, so you're going to have on-demand access to mentorship for 8 hours a day. I should probably define mentorship because the Lighthouse definition is a little different from the real-world definition. So mentorship is pretty much a teaching assistant. But all of our mentors are developers who work either remotely or part-time. So they're bringing their industry knowledge into our campus. Also, it's extremely fast-paced. So we're looking at 10-hour days with, again, that 60 hours of prep work. So you really need to be prepared for, to dedicate yourself to pretty much only the boot camp for the 12 weeks while you're in it. You kind of have to say goodbye to your family and friends. I'm just kidding, but it is intense, and you do have to be really committed to the hours to put into it. And finally, it's fully online at the moment, so it's fully remote mentorship, lectures, and student engagement. There's about 5 or 6 different like technologies that we use to make sure that like engagement is high. For example, every lecture in the morning, you're expected to be there with your video on, and you're there with all your cohort mates. And it's a good chance for everybody to connect as well. So there's a couple outcomes I just want to highlight for you. So Lighthouse sees a 93% employment rate within 120 days of graduation. And that's a stat that we've been collecting for the past 6 years. So that is in a fully paid junior developer role. And then the other thing is $52,000 is the average first salary post bootcamp that we see. Roland will tell you a good developer will make anywhere from, $80,000 upwards within a few years of working on the job. So it's definitely, all of this hard work is worth it. So finally, the last thing I'm going to chat about is career services. So a large part of this program is the career services program. Our guiding belief is that most of your training will be learned on the job. No one's expecting that after a 12-week boot camp, you're going to go and be a junior or a senior developer at Apple. Like, it's just not going to happen. But the main function of our CS team is to make sure that you land your first job as a developer. So that's everything from, we will send your resume out and promote you to employers any chance that we get. We're going to help schedule and follow up with interviews on your behalf. Actually, starting in week 6, we've got a large number of career services workshops that's built into the program. So, resume writing, resume review, technical interviews, because all of that looks very different as a developer. And finally, we're there to provide, support and advice on situations like networking, relocation, salary negotiation, whatever it is that you need.
So yeah, to that point, I just want to add a little bit to that comment is that I don't want people to get scared. That's like, I'm not a developer. I didn't grow up with these sort of things in concept. Mm-hmm. Yes, I can computer, but it's Facebook. And I think the big message we have to get out to our veterans and the military staff is that that's okay. Don't be freaked out that that's your level of understanding, because the whole idea of this is to grow you into this role. And we don't want you to have imposter syndrome or like, this is not something I can't do. My job was to put down rounds down range or be a medic and help people. That doesn't matter, right? All things are off when it comes to this. We're going to take someone who is not a developer and turn them into someone whose abilities are to be a developer. And then you're going to an environment where actually you can learn and grow inside the job. So that's really, really important. But that also talks to things like mental health and how we do it, serving and have served with many people that have a variety of different mindsets and issues that come up. We've realized this. We know it going into it. You're also surrounded by top things. We have 2 generals that are going to be involved in the program, brigadier general and above. And you're going to be supported by people who are military people that are going to guide you through this. We have 2 wellness officers. They are, licensed practitioners of mental health. And you're going to have all the support you need to get through this and succeed at this, because we've created that sort of safety net underneath you. And know that you have people that have done this and actually done it before, right? So I came from the military. That was my background. I wanted to get into tech. I did that. I understand the pitfalls and the hardness it does to change from thinking about, 3 points of contact on a tank to thinking about things like code and, business terms, financials, all that sort of stuff. We'll also do weekly checkups with you and making sure that you're doing well. And if you have any structures, we're going to actually make sure that we've addressed those. And there's lots of one-on-ones and top line support to allow you to get there. So I'll turn it to Jen to talk about eligibility and the 2 check boxes that we need to allow you into the program.
Yes, our eligibility is pretty, well, you can see what it is. As he said, you've been in the military, you've done your service, and you're interested in a career in tech. So that's basically, like I said, we're going to help you get to that point. It's very simple, and we're always going to be there to just guide you and just be there for you.
Yeah, it's really about want. As long as you want to be in the program, we're going to find a way to get you in it. And obviously military service, given the fact that we're focused on military people, is a sort of easy bit. But it doesn't matter if you served, 6 months or 16 years. It doesn't really matter to us. As long as you served, we'll find a way to get you in if you have the passion for it. And program.
Yes.
So I'm going to turn the application process over to you, Alex, and then it's fairly straightforward, but away you go.
And Jen, feel free to jump in too. But the first round, so there's an online application form. It's fairly straightforward. Jen is going to be sending that to you all today if you haven't had a chance to have a look at it. And then after that, there will be a group interview with Lighthouse Labs. I'll be there, so it'll just be me and our admissions manager. And it's not really an interview. It's just more of a we want to make sure that you're prepared. We're going to let you ask all the questions that you have, because I'm sure after this, you're kind of going to sit there and think about it. And I encourage you to also check out our website. All of our curriculum and everything is up there day by day. So yeah, there's that. And then there also might be an additional tech interview with Lighthouse. So we'll give you a couple things to study up on. You'll have a week to do that, and then present that to myself or an instructor. And then Jen, do you want to talk about the last point here?
Yeah, we're just thinking, there'll be an interview with Roland, who's right there, because I just think that's important to connect with him, as he has been, he's served, and in the technical aspect of it.
And again, this is about me connecting with you, your worries and concern. Scotty, you and I have talked just prior to this. It's really about understanding any fears and anxiety you have, so how I can help. Because the more I know going into it, the more I can equip you to be successful. This is not about, as we think about application, I hate that word, because it instills the idea of a possibility of rejection. This is about preparation, not admission, right? So we just want to give you all the tools to be most successful in this. And it's more preparation process than application process.
Yeah. And I will say, like, if you have any sort of experience in code or technology, you already have a one-up on many, many people who have taken our course. The vast majority have never seen code in their life.
Yeah, so let's get the fear out of the way. That's what we want to do, is push the fear aside and look at your want and ambition and your bettering of your life as the primary focus, and how can we help you redefine who you are. And you're not defined as a soldier. This is about how do we create the next step for you to take in your life, and how we want to help you do that. So to that end, we talked a lot there. I want to make sure we turn over the floor. Patrick, Skylar, Scotty, feel free to ask any question. There's no good or bad ones. And let's make sure that you've got all the information you decide whether or not you're interested in partnering with the foundation, Lighthouse Labs, to take you guys to a new place.